look at where they're at as far as consistency goes, I mean, they haven't put up big numbers with the pass game nor the rush game, really. The main thing I see is they're going to come out and you're not going to run the football in Alabama. Nobody is. I think you're definitely going to see deep threats. You know, they're going to throw the ball deep, going to try to attack our safeties. So I think you're definitely just going to have to be on the lookout for this quarterback, and he's got some good, tall, physical receivers that he can throw to. So big play possibilities, but I don't really think it'll be a factor.
Definitely in that secondary, players Justin Woodall, Mark Barron, Javier Arenas definitely will have to step up because, let's face it, Kentucky's going to try to throw the ball around a little bit. Kentucky defense, I mean, they're an SEC defense. A lot can be said just by saying that. What do we need to know?
I think it's like TC said, it's an SEC defense. I mean, everybody has players. You have legitimate athletes that can play all over the field, you know. But I really think that Alabama's going to be able to come out and control the line of scrimmage this week. They kind of got embarrassed last week. You know, they might want to touch on this, and they might want to just, you know, give them, you know, they might want to redeem themselves for last week. I think they're going to come out fired up, and I think they're going to be able to control this defense.
Impact players, Big D. Talk about a couple of impact players from Kentucky, and then we'll both give some offensive and defensive players that could stand out for the Tide. Who's your first impact player for the Wildcats?
My first impact player for the Wildcats will be Randall Cobb at wide receiver. He's only had 18 touches with 191 yards receiving. He's averaging 10.6 yards a touch at all, but he averages, you know, he's had 2 touchdowns this season, and his average is pretty good.
I mean, 10.6 yards every time you touch the ball. That's pretty impressive right there. My impact player for Kentucky, go ahead and say it. I don't know much about him, but I have seen Hartline play. He seems to be an effective quarterback. On the year, he's completing just over 60% of his passes, 4 touchdowns. But I think this is a kid that could definitely play, and if that secondary doesn't come out ready, Big D, he could hurt him.
Well, there's always the possibility of big threats. I mean, you throw the ball deep, and big things can happen. I
Always.
mean, the Tide showed that last week. When you go deep, somebody can get burned, always. So the Tide definitely has to be on watch for that.
No doubt. Offensive key player for the Tide?
Definitely. I have to go with Greg McElroy at quarterback. Kid has just been phenomenal this season. He will not disappoint this Saturday. He has a great head on his shoulders. A very smart kid. Knows what to do with the ball. I think you're going to see him hook up with Julio Jones and Marquise Mays deep. I think you're going to see him pick apart this Kentucky defense.
Definitely. McElroy, top 3 in quarterback rating in the country.
Right.
Definitely starting to get a little buzz around his name. My offensive key player is actually going to be a group of players. My offensive key player is the Bama offensive line. I mean, we saw last week Alabama come out. They struggled a little bit running the football. I think Coach Saban really wants to come out and dominate the line of scrimmage and, you know, go back to the old way of playing Alabama football. So my key player is going to be that offensive line to see if they can step up and take on that Kentucky front 7.
That's it, man.
Defensive key player for you?
I got to go with Javier Arenas at quarterback. And Javier has just been a phenomenal player for the Tide this year. He's come up big, not only on special teams, but on the defensive side of the ball. I picked Javier to come up big in pass situations. I think he's a lockdown corner. I think he's going to see a lot of pass breakups. And now even, last week, we saw him coming on a lot of corner blitzes, and that's Saban's creativity bringing the blitz packages at this defense. You know, it's great.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to pick for my defensive player Marcel Darius this week. Leading the team in sacks. He's shown that he can get to the quarterback. Big physical guy. Rich, what do you think about Marcel?
He leads the sacks. He leads the team in sacks. Like you say, he has 4 sacks on the year. Big physical kid. Really young. Has a lot of talent going for him. I see this kid going places and being one of the best defensive tackles at Alabama.
Rich, keys to victory in this upcoming game. What are yours?
The key to the victory this week is not coming out overconfident and coming out with a good mental state. The Tide has to come out and play consistently, not have, you know, any doubt about what they're doing or what they're there to do. They have to take care of business, and I think Saban will have them ready to play.
Well, key to victory, definitely, like I said, coming out, establishing the line of scrimmage, establishing the running game. But another thing is, like Coach Saban preaches every week, the team has to finish. Come fourth quarter, you know, we can't Can't back off. Got to finish the game. It's what Coach Saban always preaches, and I think if the Tide does that, they should have a pretty easy time. All right, it's time for this week's Weekly Q. This week we want to know what all you in America think. The Auburn Tigers playing Tennessee this week, Rich. As Alabama fans, you know, this is one we watch and we don't really know who to pull for. What do you think about the game?
Well, I think definitely. I mean, it's a tough choice for any real Bama fan to choose. You know, it's hard to pull for either of these teams in any given situation. But I've definitely got to pull for the Vols this week. I mean, they're playing an SEC West opponent. It's the same division as Alabama. You know, a loss for the Tigers would further put them, you know, out of the race for the SEC West, and I think that's what the Tide needs to achieve right now. But then again, you know, a loss to the Tennessee team, I believe it would spin Lane Kiffin's program in a downward spiral, and I think they would definitely fall off if Auburn pulls it out.
Well, I gotta say I'm pulling for Tennessee in this game. As hard as it is as an Alabama fan to pull for Tennessee, but I gotta say I'm pulling for Tennessee. But we want your thoughts on that game. Feel free to comment about that one. And Big D, it's prediction time.
All right, man.
Alabama and Kentucky this Saturday, 11:30 kickoff. Who you got?
I've got the Tide winning outright. 45-10 is my score, and I'll tell you why. I think Greg McElroy is going to come out. I think they're going to establish the running game early. I think you're going to see big plays out of running backs Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson. You're going to see offensive lineman Drew Davis and James Carpenter dominate the defense, and you're going to see a legitimate dominating performance out of the Bama offense.
Well, Big D, I didn't come in today with a score in mind, but one thing I will say is I do think Alabama will win this game. I think they're just too deep and too strong up front for Kentucky. I think Coach Saban will have the offensive line ready to play this week. I think they'll come out and they'll dominate pretty good. I'm going to say the Tide wins 49-10.
All right, man.
Well, we thank you once again for joining us, and we invite you to subscribe. This will be a weekly thing. Come join Big D and TC online, and over and out.